Frazier. It's a beautiful day in Southern California, a great day to talk about real estate on the Homebuyer Townhall. Folks, we got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about some very, very important topics, things that we typically don't discuss as real estate professionals and even as mortgage professionals. We're going to be talking about first, some of the challenges that first-time homebuyers are going to face when buying a new home, some of the additional expenses that they may not be prepared for or even think about, when making that decision, writing that check, and buying that first home. We're also going to talk about some of the costs associated with moving. You're saving the money for the down payment, the closing costs, but you got to move. And you may not be fully prepared on what it takes, not only just to get to the new house, but what you might need for the new house. So this is really going to be a great show, and we're going to chop it up for sure. And I have with me some extraordinary individuals who are leaders in their own right. And we want to take a moment to introduce them now. First up is Carolyn Sansorri with the Golden State Finance Authority. Welcome, Carolyn, to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me on the show today. These are going to be some great topics, whether you are a first-time home buyer or you're looking to buy another house and maybe sell the one you're in. So we're going to have a great discussion. Thanks for having me here to represent Golden State Finance Authority. I look forward to the discussion.
Carolyn, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to engage in this very important topics, but also to talk about down payment assistance that is available for first-time home buyers and even move-up buyers. Also with me from the great state of Arizona, the one and only Peggy Simmons. Welcome to the show, Peggy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Eric, thanks again for having me on the show. Looking forward to the topics of today. First-time home buyers is always at my heart. I love working with first-time home buyers. So here in Arizona, we're excited about what we can do for the first-time home buyers.
Peggy, when you speak, people are going to listen, and I know they're going to probably want to reach out to you. Can you share your contact information at the start here?
Oh, absolutely, gladly. Sorry about that, Eric. My name is Peggy Simmons. I am with Realty Marketing Group here in Tempe, Arizona. My phone number, 480-201-0654. My email address, it's just my name, Peggy Simmons, no dats, no dashes, at AOL.com. Remember, Peggy Simmons at AOL.com. No dashes and no dots.
I love that. No dashes and no dots. Reach out to Peggy. Arizona is on fire. I mean, it's hot out there anyway. But literally, prices are incredibly affordable there and just a lot of opportunity. We'll hear from Peggy about that. And finally, Ameer, Elahee, extraordinary real estate professional out of California. Welcome to the show, Ameer.
Thank you, Eric. It's always good to be with you. My name is Ameer Elahee with eXp Realty, and my license number is 013-13504. My cell phone number, of course, is 626-625-0099. That's 626-625-0099. I always look forward to contributing to these great conversations.
Ameer, thank you so much for being on the show today, being a VIP agent. Both Peggy and Ameer are VIP agents. These are extraordinary individuals with a ton of experience in real estate. You can go to our website at thepowersnow.com where you'll find all of their details on their real estate affiliate. The full biographical information is there, contact information. And also, if you watch the Homebuyer Townhall, the Real Estate Roundtable, or the market updates, you might find them there as well, sharing information about local real estate. Now, in addition to being the host of the show, I'm also a vice president and mortgage advisor with First Bank. My license number is 461807. The views and opinions that I express today are my own and do not necessarily reflect that of First Bank. But folks, it's going to be a great show. So we're going to talk about, again, what are the hidden costs of owning a home and things that first-time home buyers should be prepared for. And then we're going to talk about what are some of the costs associated with moving to your new home and actually moving into the house. So you got to get there, and then you've got to pay some more money to get the things you need while you're there in your new home. So these are two very important topics. You may be in the process of buying right now. Maybe you have bought, sold, and you are, celebrating, getting ready to move in. In either case, this is great information for you. Now, in addition to these two topics, we're going to talk about the Golden State Finance Authority and the incredible opportunities that they represent for first-time home buyers, even move-up buyers. In fact, you don't even have to be a first-time home buyer to get this money. And depending on your occupation, the money could be free, an absolute grant. So tune in, stay tuned in and to get those details. And then I'm going to talk about the California Housing Finance Agency. They've got two awesome programs. If you're buying in these high-cost areas out here in California, like Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego, wow, you need some money, right? You need some money to get in down there. It's just, you practically need to be rich today to buy a house in some of these high-cost areas. And you believe it or not, there's down payment assistance for $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 houses. You can get down payment assistance. So that's what we're going to talk about. It's going to be a great show. Please share the link. If you're watching us live on Facebook, share it with others. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, just stay connected with The Power Is Now. We are leading the conversation in real estate. We'll be right back right after this commercial break.
The Power Is Now magazines are the leading resource for real estate agents, mortgage bankers, entrepreneurs, and small home ownership businesses, providing leaders with business strategy information, resources, and tools through PIN, Real Estate, Programming Guide magazines. Stay up to the minute with real estate news and information from industry experts. Subscription is free. Sign up today. thepowerisnow.com. thepowerisnow.com.
And we're back. For those of you just joining us, welcome to The Power Is Now Homebuyer Townhall. Please share the link. I'm certain that someone family member, might be interested to learn about, buying a home, about down payment assistance, are the two very important topics we're going to be talking about now. And so let's bring up topic number one. What are the hidden costs of owning a home and the expenses that first-time home buyers might not be prepared for? And so we're going to start with our lady from Arizona, Peggy Simmons. Peggy, what are some of the hidden costs that first-time home buyers should be concerned about?
Some of the costs that may be hidden that as a first-time home buyer, you may not be aware of is the difference between your utility costs. The utility cost in an apartment or a small home versus the utility cost in the home that you may be looking to purchase certainly will vary. And when I say utility costs, we're talking about the electricity. We're talking about the gas bill. We're talking about the water bill. And if you came from a residence or an apartment that your internet and your cable was already included in that rent cost, you're going to have those separate bills as well. So prepare that one bill that you had at the apartment complex may be added when you go to home ownership. So do your list, prepare before you purchase.
Peggy, wow, those are really great things to consider. And I didn't even think about some landlords do provide internet access, right? And so that's seriously something to think about. I mean, I know I pay a lot for internet access here, and I don't think it varies between, what it costs for an apartment versus a house. So thank you for that. And I know you have more. We're going to share the love a little bit here. Carolyn Sunseri, what are some of the costs that you can think about?
Well, I think once you're actually in the home, there are some maintenance costs that we don't think about when we have a landlord take care of things. And that could be just maintaining the yard. Something as simple as how are you going to mow any front lawn that you have, or are you going to be hiring a gardener? Those are things that, maybe you hadn't had to concern yourself with, but it's how we maintain what the front of our home looks like and the appearance and our pride in our home. And even something as simple as wanting to change the paint inside a house to something that fits you better, or just to make that home yours, there's a little bit of cost involved in, getting some paint supplies and throwing some paint on some walls. And you want to have that freedom. So keep these things in mind. They're not what you planned when you're still in a renting situation. They're things that you take on once you start owning a home.
Wow, great information, folks. I don't know if you're hearing this, but this is really insightful information, because if you haven't owned a home before, if you're just getting into the game of home ownership, these are some of the things that you will have to face. You're not going to like that ugly carpet, right? That's one we can add. And you're not going to like that ugly paint that the seller left you. And so what is the cost to paint? Are you going to do it yourself? Are you going to be a DIY person? Sometimes that works. It wouldn't work for me. My wife wouldn't let me paint anything, right? Because she knows that I would do a terrible job. Ameer, I don't know about you. Maybe you have the same challenge, but what do you think some of the costs are, the hidden costs, unexpected costs of owning a home for a first-time home buyer?
Well, my wife is like yours, Eric, and so she reminds me that the description on my card says real estate agent. And so anything past that, she's not going to let me get involved in. I think I painted one wall or two walls in 25 years. So I definitely understand that. I think that some of the other things that we talk about in home ownership and the cost are also your long-term costs. And so, and that would be property maintenance. And so typically you're going to have to replace, filters for your air conditioner, your furnace. Each year they recommend that you actually have your AC serviced as well. Certainly here in Southern California, and I know in Arizona, AC is very, very important when it gets to be spring and summer. So those are some costs that people typically don't get as renters, where you've got to take a look and make sure that those systems are working and in place. And then even in an extended portion of exterior maintenance is, depending on what you have on the outside of your house, whether it's stucco or whether it's wood shake, or if you live in an older house, those exterior, the exterior walls still need to be maintained. So they need to be painted every 3, 4, 6 years, depending on how durable the actual paint is. You've got roofing and gutters in some cases. I happen to know here where I live, when we purchased this home, we had palm trees. And so those palm trees have to be trimmed every few years, and it is not a cheap endeavor. So those are just some of the things that people have to consider in moving from renting to home ownership.
Ameer, wow, you have brought up some very, very good points that first-time home buyers need to think about. Tree trimming, of course, you've got to trim the trees. In fact, if you have trees too close to your house, you can create a termite problem, right? And so you've got to maintain the trees, and you've got to take care of the gutter and the gutters around your roof line, because that could create even another problem, a much more serious problem. So these are great areas that we are bringing up to make first-time home buyers aware of the hidden costs, or we'll call it the unknown costs, associated with buying a new home. Now, I have been a homeowner my entire life. I bought my first house at the tender age of 21. And so I am painfully aware of some of the costs associated with owning a home. And I can tell you, with every home I've ever owned, my Achilles heel has always been the outside. I want to keep my yard looking good, all right? Although my neighbors are going to talk about me. So I got to keep the grass green. And so the gardener, the bigger house I get each time I make the move, the bigger the yard, the more the gardener would charge me. And then he just charges to cut, blow, and edge. If I need him to cut the trees or to do anything extra, it's even more money. And one time I had the crazy idea that I was going to do it myself. And so I went out and I spent like $1,500 on a whole bunch of equipment. I bought the trimmer, I bought the lawnmower, I bought all this stuff. And 30 days later, I put it on I forget what site I put it on, got rid of all of it. I took a loss of probably $500 because I just wasn't being realistic. I don't have the time to do it. And I think that's something you should think about. You know, when you're buying a house, be realistic about what you think you can do because you actually may not be able to do it, whether it be painting or doing some repair job. That's another thing. Things break down. And I've tried it in the past to fix plumbing problems. And it just cost me more money and more time. I ended up hiring a plumber anyway. And I know that somebody watching and listening can relate to that, right? And so be realistic about what your skill sets are. And so for me, I want to add to the list sprinklers. Now, my sprinklers, my main valves have gone out in my yard, folks. I'm talking about, this is what I'm dealing with right now. Do you not know that I'm getting a deal from my gardener because I've kind of just been checking around and getting estimates, and he's charging me $250 per valve. I have 4 that are out. That's $1,000. That's $1,000, folks. And so sprinklers, maintaining your sprinklers, and just know that they're not designed to last forever. The other thing is that I have had 2 houses with a pool, and I thought I learned my lesson in the last house, but I didn't. And so I bought another house with a pool, and I have finally learned my lesson. I do not recommend buying a home with a pool. You are better off buying a home in a community, a gated community that has a pool, and make your association's dues take care of that. But to have a pool yourself, the chemicals, the cleaning, every about 10 to 15 years, you got to replace the stucco. And then you got to do the deep cleaning, and then the water bill because the water evaporates. And then the electric bill is high because you got to run that pool 8 to 10 hours a day. My pool is 20 by 40. So I do not recommend buying a pool. So folks, those are some of my suggestions to think about when you're buying a house. Now, I know my VIPs have more to share. And so we're going to go back to Peggy. Peggy, what else do you have that first-time homebuyers should be concerned about?
Well, Eric, one of the little known issues that may face home buyers when they're buying is the main water supply line. And many times with the older homes, if you don't do what's called have a camera snaked down the line to find out if the piping is solid, what type of piping it is, from the main home to the street, the connection to the city's water supply, you could be facing a $6,000 or more repair cost with some of the older plumbing lines in the city of Phoenix. So I recommend when you're buying an older home in the city of Phoenix, I recommend that you hire a plumbing company, not just your handyman, but a plumbing company that has the experience of running those cameras down the lines so that you can see what shape and what condition that plumbing line is. The main line is that connects to your house, because you don't want to close escrow and then 30, 40, 60 days later, you've got a $6,000 bill to put in a whole new supply line from your home to the street, to the main city's line. So that's something that's rarely thought about.
Peggy, wow. You know, I can't even think of even reading that or seeing that in a home inspection report. Would you recommend that would be, because you hire a home inspector and they have these, 20, 30, 40 point inspections and they look at everything, right? But I don't recall any inspector that I've looked at reports doing such an inspection where they're, putting a camera down the main line. Is that something that you need to request special? I mean, what's been your experience in this particular area?
My experience, Eric, is if I know that I'm working with a buyer that has an older home, my recommendation is to hire a company, a plumbing company that has the specialty of dealing with sending a camera down those lines. That is not just something that your average everyday plumber has the equipment to do. So if I'm selling an older home, that is certainly something that I recommend. Whether it's a first-time home buyer, a move-up buyer, it's the age of the home, because I don't want them disappointed, certainly in me or also in the home later on.
Well, this is very important because for those of you who are in California, you may not be aware of this, but California has the oldest housing stock in the country. I mean, it's a very real problem that once a home, 50, 60, 70, 100 years, it's very possible that weeds or trees, or tree roots will have cracked the pipe and grown into the pipe and are causing some blockage that may not be as serious right now, but in the next few years, as that tree limb continues to grow and expand, it will back up your entire system. Now, Peggy, it's interesting you brought this up because this has happened to me, and my home was only 15 years old, and thank God the city covered it. I was shocked that they covered it, and I would have never known about it, and we did not order that kind of inspection. And I think also, to your point, I think a typical home inspector is not going to probably do this. It's probably not even on his list of things. And you do have to kind of be aware, have to have a seasoned VIP agent like yourself to make you aware that this is something we should do. We should hire a plumbing company that has the ability to do this type of investigation. So, wow, that's a big one there. Carolyn and Ameer, I mean, do you guys have anything more to add to this whole issue of older homes or additional things that sellers or buyers should be looking at?
Well, I actually bought an older home this last time, and it's a little over 100 years. And so it still had the original knob and tube wiring in it. Now that showed up on the inspection report. And I don't want to just discourage people from looking at some of this older housing stock, because there's so much character to some of it. And when you're looking maybe in a more metropolitan area, you're going to see a lot of older constructed homes. But you do have to consider long-term, at some point, upgrading things to central heat and air, or to the the more current wiring standards, or looking at the junction box where the fuses are in the house and upgrading that. And so older houses do have a lot of things that will at some point need to be upgraded. And I don't think it should discourage anybody from ever buying one. I think there's a lot of positives that can come from it too, but it's something that you've got to start thinking, I'm gonna have to put some money away for these big upgrades. And same thing with the pool. I know you're not a fan of a pool, but I've owned a pool in the past. And once I got into the routine and I got used to the cost of, the chemicals and that extra water and electric bill, I did enjoy having the pool. But things people forget is that a spa is just as much work. And so you could have a little spa, above ground spa that you're buying at a house, and you still have to maintain it. You still have to run its filtration system and pump and maintain its equipment and buy its chemicals too. So anything of that nature, there's going to be something to keep it running. So keep that in mind.
Carolyn, thank you for putting a positive spin on this, because you're absolutely right. I do enjoy my pool in the summertime. I just don't enjoy the utility bills associated with it. And you're right. This is not to discourage anyone from buying a home, not at all, or even buying an older home. But there's a phrase in real estate, a Latin phrase, caveat emptor. Buyer beware, right? And so that's the purpose of this topic, and that's to really talk about things you should be aware of. And if you're working with a seasoned professional like a VIP agent, they're going to make sure that you're aware of these things and that you get them checked out, because nobody wants to buy a lemon. There's some other things too, that if you're buying in rural areas and you're on a well, you're getting well water, or you're getting a septic tank, those are things that need to be checked out as well. Right, Ameer?
Absolutely. It's interesting that you said that, because I just recently sold a home that was on a septic tank, and it also had propane heat. And so, here in Southern California, we have folks that move a little bit further out from the city. And so those are things that, have to be inspected periodically and have to be maintained as well. And I know we may go into a little bit of it later on, but one of the things that happens as well is that sometimes, just to be able to move in for your lifestyle, So if you're moving into an older home or a home in a different location and it's not completely upgraded, so it may not have the, the three-pronged wiring for the electrical. And of course, everything that we do now from cell phones to, printers and those kind of things all take, a different kind of electric in some of the older homes. And so those are things that sometimes we have to upgrade almost immediately in order for us just to maintain our normal lifestyle in the things that we do on a normal basis. And so, sometimes when you open those things up, you may be opening a can of worms unknowingly, just to be able to get there and be comfortable.
Ameer, Peggy, Carolyn, you guys have really broke it down. What a great topic this is to talk about. Some of the expenses that first-time homebuyers should be aware of in buying a home. So next up, we're going to be talking about some of the common expenses associated with moving into a new home. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, move-up buyer, doesn't matter. If it's something you haven't, if you're going to a place that you haven't lived before, you've got some real costs associated with getting there and then actually moving inside. You're listening to or watching the Power Is Now Homebuyer Townhall. My name is Eric Frazier with my extraordinary VIP agents and, of course, Carolyn Sansorri with the Golden State Finance Authority. More on these important topics when we come back.
Many Californians fear that they will not be able to pay their rent next month. Financial education and literacy are the catalyst for relief. So what resources are out there? A State of California program connects you with a HUD-certified housing counselor who can assist you on your financial education journey with no cost to you. Call today at 1-800-569-4287. Again, that is 1-800-569-4287.
And we're back. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the Power Is Now Homebuyer Town Hall. Did you enjoy that last segment? Do you have a question? If you do, just go to neverrentagain.com, neverrentagain.com, and you can put in your information, ask your question, and any one of us will reach out to you if it's directed to us to answer your question. And of course, if you are watching us live on Facebook, put it in the chat room and we will respond with an answer to your question. And of course, you can drop us an email. Drop me an email at eric.frazier@thepowerisnow.com, and I'll be happy to get your questions answered. So now we're moving on to the expenses associated with making that move. You've closed on escrow. Congratulations, you're a brand new home buyer. Now what? You got to pack your bags, get the moving truck, and get out, right? Get to the brand new house. And there are some real costs associated with doing that. And so we're going to start off with Carolyn Sansorri with the Golden State Finance Authority.
Thank you, Eric. So the ones that I was thinking of that surprised me were the appliances that didn't come with the house. When I was a renter, I brought my furniture, I made myself at home, and I didn't one time think that when you buy a house, it doesn't come with a refrigerator. That surprised me. And, there's the stove is still there. If there's a dishwasher, those appliances stay when the seller sells the house, but they are not under any obligation to sell the house with the refrigerator. And so that's a pretty big expense right away because you can only live out of a cooler for so long. And whether you buy a used appliance or something refurbished or something brand new, it's just something that you may not have expected to have to deal with immediately. And the same thing goes with laundry. If you've been used to using a laundry service or going to a laundromat, but now you have the ability to do that in your own home, do you have those appliances already? The washer and the dryer, those are also things that as a new homeowner, you may have to purchase for yourself. And those are all things that you want to have some money set aside to deal with because they're going to come up pretty quick.
Wow, Carolyn, you're absolutely right. And I wonder if real estate agents are advising their clients on this. Are they also being surprised? I mean, did your agent not tell you that the refrigerator would not be included, that it's personal property? Or was it a built-in and they took it out anyway?
You know, my agent on the first house I bought did tell me, and so I panicked. I was like, well, I'm not prepared to buy that. But it did give me a heads up a couple weeks before I moved in. But then when I sold that house and went to go move into a new one, I had to decide whether, I was going to leave that refrigerator for the borrow or take it with me, because I was going to need it on the new house too. And would it fit in the new house? And it ultimately didn't fit in the new house. And so I ended up buying another refrigerator the second time I bought a house, which was, good for the person I sold my house to, because they got to keep the refrigerator.
Wow. Well, yeah, it's a windfall for the new buyer, but a second refrigerator for you. Wow. So Peggy, when you are buying a refrigerator, or you're getting the refrigerator in a house and it's not actually attached, like built into into the cabinets, if it's not attached, then it's considered personal property, right?
That is correct. And I oftentimes advise my buyers going in that you're buying a home. You're not buying personal property. And that personal property is personal to the homeowner that's selling the place. And if it's not notated in the MLS listing, then that means it does not stay. So with the buyer interview up front, I always ask, do you own a refrigerator, washer, and dryer? And if that answer is yes, then that means we're not going to even have to worry about that. But if the answer is no, then I'm going to advise them that it is a seller's preference as to whether or not they want to leave that refrigerator, washer, and dryer. But I do remind them always that we are buying real estate. We're buying a property. We're not buying the personal belongings of that homeowner.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I think that, these days, a lot of listing agents are staging the property. And so they've got beautiful furniture and appliances in, and, they do a great job, and it helps to sell the property. But those who have their real, furniture and appliances and what have you, it has to be clearly stated on MLS, right, that these things are for sale. And it would be a separate transaction, right? It's personal property, bill of sale, and it may or may not affect the value of the property if it's not identified that way, correct?
That is correct. And sometimes I advise them that if the seller is willing to sell the refrigerator, washer, and dryer outside of escrow, that is something that we could possibly negotiate. I don't say we can. We might possibly be able to negotiate a price that would be less than buying one brand new. However, I leave that up to the buyer, educating them on the front side as to whether or not a refrigerator, washer, and dryer is included.
So this applies to washer, dryer, refrigerators, or any type of appliance. Some people have, refrigerated wine coolers. They have, there's lots of things that you can put into a home, right? And but it may or may not be included. So what else can you think of that buyers should be concerned about in kind of estimating their cost and moving, and then once they moved in, being there in a new home?
Eric, here in Arizona, we have two different power companies. I'm not sure in California if you guys do, in one city, in one metropolitan area. So we have what's called the SRP, or Salt River Project, and we have APS, which is Arizona Public Service. So you may have a first-time home buyer that is presently living in an SRP district, but the home that they may be buying may be a home that's located in APS district. And so you have to advise them, if you have not had service in the APS district, APS will require, not may, APS will require that you put a deposit down. So that's something that you really, when you're advising first-time home buyers, if you live in one utility district and move into a separate one, a different one, you may have to think about you're paying a deposit, a new customer deposit.
Well, that's great to know. And it could be the case where a person is renting and all the utilities are included in the rent, so they don't have any experience or a track record with the utility. So it's highly likely that they could be required to put a deposit. And these deposits could run what? How much on an average down in Arizona?
Well, sometimes I've seen it, it just has kind of flipped over sometimes. I've seen them double whatever the highest utility cost was, even if it wasn't for that particular new home buyer, or they'll just do a flat fee of 250 to 350 bucks. But if you get caught in that crosshair where they want to charge you the highest cost of the previous owner, that can be pretty scary.
Wow, you guys are bringing it. I have an extraordinary panel here today, folks, that are bringing some great information. Peggy, is there anything else you want to add in terms of expense and making that move?
Well, the moving ban, before we can even get to the house, we've got to consider the moving ban. And the moving ban, there are some moving companies that will charge you by the hour to rent the truck, and there are some that will charge you by the day. They will all charge you based on the size of the rental, the van or truck that you're renting. And then if you're going from in Arizona, in Phoenix, if you're going from Phoenix to, let's say, Queen Creek, which is the West Valley to the East Valley, how many miles, so you gotta calculate whether or not they're gonna charge you mileage, they're gonna charge you by the hour, they're gonna charge you by the day, and they certainly are going to charge you by the size of the truck.
You're absolutely right. I have had that experience as well. And, the initial estimate never works out to be what you actually pay. It's always more. And that's something you can definitely consider. Thank you, Peggy, for that great information. Ameer, Elahee, what say you on the matter?
Well, I just wanted to tag on to what Peggy was saying in terms of the moving van. And we always talk about, there was a company that was started when I was in college called Two College Kids Will Move You. And of course, as college kids, we weren't as gentle with some of the moving boxes as some of the professionals were. So, either you have to have a really good barbecue waiting for them on the other end at the end of the move, but you got to get somebody to get things to the actual moving van that Peggy was just talking about. So, there are all kinds of things that you've got to consider when being able to pack up and move. But one of the other things, of course, is also, in terms of being able to negotiate with things. I had a recent client that moved, and the sellers had a U-Haul truck, and it was literally packed. And of course, it was the day that we were getting the keys. And so there was no more room, left, and they still had exercise equipment left in the garage. And so we actually were able to purchase almost a full gym between the two of us. And there was a treadmill and elliptical and a couple of bicycles. And so we got them at a really reasonable price because the seller basically had no more room left in their moving van.
Well, that was a windfall.
Absolutely.
And, this makes yard sales so popular today, right? I mean, people try to liquidate most of that stuff before they move, and sometimes they just can't. Well, this has been a really great information. Ameer, do you have anything else you want to share before I jump into the discussion?
Well, I think that the other thing that we always have to be mindful of is of course, as we kind of talk about the moving expenses and the cost of the moving van and, some minor upgrades to kind of get the property to where the new home buyer wants it to be. But, the real monetary expense of what it really means to be a homeowner. So someone may have mentioned it earlier, but, when you go from actually being able to get some of your utilities paid by the landlord versus you now having to pay for gas, electric, water, trash, cable, monthly maintenance. As a real estate agent, what I like to do, as opposed to just grabbing someone and putting them in the car once we actually get a approval letter, what we like to do is really sit down and count up the cost of the entire process of what they're actually going to be getting into. And so a lot of cases, certainly here in Southern California, there's going to be an increase in their rent over what they're paying when it comes time to pay a mortgage. And so, we have to look at that cost, and we have to look at, the utilities and the maintenance. And so we really kind of look at a 12-month cost average or projection in terms of what they're really going to be looking at. That helps us determine what kind of property or what kind of price we're going to be looking for as well.
Ameer, I'm so glad you're bringing that up because it is a very important topic to really look at your real budget. You know, we have the underwriter's budget, which does not consider anything that's not on the credit report, with the exception maybe of, child support or tax lien or alimony. Those types of things typically are not reporting on a monthly basis. So, but if it's not on the credit report, it doesn't get calculated in the debt to income ratio. And so the amount you've been approved for is what the bank says you qualify for, but you may say differently when you do a detailed budget and you break down everything you're spending from food, utilities, transportation, gas, back and forth to work, lunch at work, all the things that you need to live. And then the new mortgage payment, which Ameer is right, is typically going to be a little higher, depending on where you're buying, than what your rent is. And so great point, Ameer, Elahee, EXP, great point, something that first-time homebuyers should consider. So let me wrap it up with this. When you're buying a new house, you have all the expenses that Carolyn, Peggy, and Ameer have talked about. And then you get there, now you're inside, and you realize that old raggedy furniture you had is just not good enough. You're a homeowner now. You want to invite your family and friends over. And of course, there's some pride, right? You want to show off a little bit because some of your other friends haven't bought a home yet. And so you're not going to be satisfied with that 10-year-old couch that's sunken in because the springs are bad, nor are you going to be satisfied for that that coffee table or that dinette table you get at IKEA that you put together with those silver screws. You're not going to be happy with that. And so buy new furniture. Oh my God, it is expensive. I mean, you can, there are some deals out there. There's some wholesale furniture outlets, but still it's money that you need to prepare to spend. So you got your living room. And if you're renting an apartment, you probably didn't have a dining room. You just had a dinette area, right? So you got your living room, and then if you got a living room and a family room, when you lived in an apartment or a house, you probably just had a living room. You probably didn't have a family room. So depending on what you got a whole lot of house to fill, from living rooms, family rooms, dining rooms. Then you got the bedrooms, and of course, you just bought your son, your daughter, they have their own room now. And of course, they want to fix it up. So you got to paint the room. You got to get a nice stuff to put on the walls. And of course, they want a new bed. Of course, they want a new bed, right? And so these are real expenses. And you don't have to try to do it all at once. Hey, you bought the house. You're going to be there for a long time. Take your time, roll into it slowly. Don't try to do it all at once. Don't go out and put, $20,000 on a Macy's card or whatever department store you're going to go to buy furniture. It does not make sense. The other thing too that you might want to consider is cleaning the house. You may want to hire some professionals. I mean, another family has been there maybe for years, right? And so you're not a professional cleaner. You probably do a good job, but you're not a professional when it comes to cleaning. You may not even have strong enough materials the stuff. You can tell I'm not a cleaning expert, right? The stuff you need to clean a house appropriately, right? And so you might want to consider hiring a professional company to come in and do a deep clean. That could cost you between $500 to $1,000 because it could take them hours. Every single room in the house, every single nook and cranny, every single place, especially today with COVID-19 and our heightened sensitivity to viruses and things. That's an expense that you're probably not thinking about, having a serious deep cleaning. And then lastly, the kitchen. You're not going to bring those plates that your mother gave you or your parents gave you when you moved into your apartment, right? You're not going to be satisfied with plastic plates. They may even look like the real thing, but you do not want to have those in a house, especially you just invited your family and friends over. So you're going to invest some money in some very nice kitchenware, from forks and spoons and knives and everything you need to be able to serve your family and to serve others. And I tell you, that's all I can think of right now, but moving into a new house is no joke. So I'm gonna have my panel final comments. That's my contribution. Any last words before we move on to the next topic?
Well, I wanted to jump right in behind you, because I think one of the things that we do, and you talk about VIP agents, and experience matters. And so one of the things that we try and do, I can't tell you how many times we've had to shop with first-time home buyers who were shopping for homes based on the furniture they had. And so we're trying to find a suitable house in a competitive market, and they're telling me, hey, Ameer, my bed's not going to fit in there. And I'm saying, Eric, I'm not sure what to tell you about the bed, but either we're going to knock a wall out, or we may have to look at buying you a new bed so that we could get you into a house. And so some of that is really education and experience and being able to have those conversations. And I think the other thing too is we always talk about kind of long-term investments. And so you've known me for a while, I'm an education and wealth building junkie. So I'm saying, you know what, we may have to use, your grandmother's plates until we could get to a point where we got a tax return coming, or we got a bonus from work to be able to upgrade some things. What I want to be able to do is get them into a wealth building situation, not necessarily where they're going to be able to show it off right away. And so those are really things that we do. And as you mentioned with cleaning and COVID, what I'm really doing now, especially for my first time buyers, is I'm actually kind of gifting or granting them with the cleaning service, just to make sure that they're really comfortable as a gift from me to them, during this season. I was able to connect with a couple of good cleaning services that offer kind of a additional deep for COVID. And so it really is something that I take, pride in being able to provide for my clients.
Ameer, wow, my hat's off to you for doing that. And this is why, you are a VIP agent. And folks, I'm just so honored to be associated with professional seasoned agents like Ameer and Peggy and Jenny and Emmerich, and I could go on, and Yvonne. Go to our website, thepowersnow.com, look at real estate affiliates, and you will see these extraordinary individuals with years of experience. You can't even be on our platform if you're not a seasoned, experienced agent and able to bring the kind of support that buyers need, during the sale and after the sale. So what a great gift, Ameer. That's a great idea. Peggy, any final words about this topic you want to share?
Sure. My final point is not to be a wet blanket on the trip that we're going to buy new furniture, and we're going to buy new dishes, and we're going to paint it, and we're going to take care of the landscaping and all that, but not to throw the wet blanket. The one thing that is most critically important is, with the first time home buyer, they're so excited about closing and moving and getting into the new home. The timing. Here's where the problem happens that really can throw the wheels off the bus. And when I say wheels off the bus, the first time home buyer has the moving van all packed. The seller is still there, as Ameer said, and we've got close of escrow on one day. One person thinks that they still have that day to vacate. The other person thinks that that day is the day to move in. And I prepare my first time home buyers best laid plans. Let's not set it so tight that your rental lease expires on the 30th of the month and you're going to move on the 30th of the month, and the seller says closing is on the 30th of the month. It rarely happens that we both can vacate and someone else move in on that same day. So I try and prepare them that let's not set those dates so close for possession.
Great point. And I have shared this with my buyers as well. I get asked all the time, when are we going to close? Should I give notice to my landlord because I don't want to pay an extra month's rent? And I tell them, no, you do not give notice to your landlord until you've been given the keys. You know, you don't have a payment. If we were closing today, today is, you know, we're in the middle of August today. And so we're going to collect interest to the end of August. And so your first payment is not going to be due until October. October, you'll be making your first payment because we will have the interest accrued on your loan will be from September 1 to September 30th. So you have a whole month of which you're not going to have to pay rent. Why put yourself at risk to being homeless possibly? And this has happened to people trying to be penny wise and dollar foolish, just cutting all the dates right to the very minute, and it makes no sense. Also, too, you put yourself under unnecessary stress and pressure, having to move in the middle of the night now because a seller didn't get out until the middle of the night. I mean, having to make extraordinary arrangements like moving into a hotel and having a truck, you know, in the parking lot. I mean, these things are crazy, but they're happening every day because buyers are not being advised by seasoned professionals who know better. And by there, of course, there are the buyers who are working with seasoned professionals, but they don't listen. They really believe that they can swing it, they can do it, and they're going to go with their own judgment. So, but my mama used to say, what is it? A hard head makes a soft behind. You know, when you realize it doesn't work out, the pain of it is unbearable. But you'll make it through it somehow. You'll make it through it. Carolyn, what say you on your final words?
You know, the only other expense I was thinking of when you first move in is that you may or may not want to change the locks on the house. And that could be rekeying costs, and it could be just buying the doorknob and locks themselves and changing them out yourselves. But I think there's a sense of security to that. Some people feel like they want to then have a security system installed as well. But that's something that I think oftentimes gets missed. And you know, all of these things could really overwhelm a new home buyer. Even somebody who's doing a move up from one house, they're selling one and they're moving up into another property, because it becomes like this to-do list of all these things I need to keep in mind and all these things I need to save up for or set aside money for. And so when we get a little further into tonight's program and we start talking about the assistance programs from Golden State Finance Authority, you know, I want to talk about why it might be worth considering not using all your resources to get into that house and holding some of it aside, maybe accessing assistance from an agency like Gsfa so that you are more financially prepared for these things that maybe you hadn't considered, or expenses and maintenance that may come up. And one of the things I would like someone to mention, one of the agents maybe, is about home warranties. Because when I bought my first home, my real estate agent highly encouraged purchasing a home warranty for that first year to help cover things that might break in the house. And there was an expense to that, but it was well worth the money to me and the stress, because some things did come up. I don't know if that's commonplace now, but I'd like to throw that back to some of you VIP agents.
Carolyn, man, are you dropping great pearls of wisdom today. I can't wait. And then what a great segue to talk about the Golden State Finance Authority, which is up next, folks. So, but locks, oh my God, I have a personal story where I was locked out of the house, could not get in at all. All the windows were shut tight, just could not get into the house. So I had to call a locksmith. Cost me $300 to get into my own house. Now, I can't even imagine what it would cost, because I don't even remember, it's been so long since I've had to do this, but to have all the locks in the house rekeyed, that's an expense, folks, that you need to think about. And then to get a security system, depending on the neighborhood you're living in, maybe you need one, maybe you don't. You should probably have one, have a security system so you know what's going on around there. And those can be expensive as well. So great topics, and you have set us up to see another reason why down payment assistance can be a very, very important part of your cash, if you will, and helping you to keep as much cash when you buy a new home. So let's talk about, though, home warranty. And you bring up a very, very good point. It's so important to have it. Peggy, what say you about the home warranty and the cost associated with that? And is it worth it? Should everybody do it?
Well, Eric, I've been in this industry for 34 years, and for the entire 34-year period that I've been selling homes here in the Phoenix metro area, I always, in a resale environment, will sell with a home warranty. If the seller decides that if I'm representing the buyer, and if the seller decides that they don't want to participate in offering a home warranty, I will indeed pay for it, because that's money well spent. I tell you what, and not all home warranties are the same. I just had an experience this morning where I have a past client that owns a property he's never seen, lives in Northern California. I sold it to him brand new. The springs on the garage went out yesterday, and the home warranty that I recommended that he have, that home warranty, he did not include the coverage that has the springs covered. So not all home warranties are the same. And I always advise, I will give 3 to my buyers. I allow them to read through, to understand, ask me questions, phone the home warranty companies themselves, and get an understanding of what it is that is included with those warranties. But never, ever, ever will I do a resale transaction without a home warranty. Now, I pay for the 12 months, and then I instruct them that after 11 months, that home warranty company, sometimes even at 10 months, will be contacting you. And I don't want to hear you let it lapse and your AC is out and you got a $6,000 bill, but I prepared you up front. So yes, definitely, the home warranty is something that I have on my personal property, I have on my rental properties, and I strongly, strongly, strongly believe in them.
That is perfect. I couldn't agree more with what Peggy said on the home warranty, because it really does make a difference. And again, just based on how you use it, I know that we had a family that purchased a home from an older woman who was a widow, and she lived there by herself for several years after her husband passed away. And so it was a fairly decent house. Some of the bathrooms she just never went in. And my clients moved in with 3 children, and they were in every room, every bathroom. And so it wasn't long before things started to break, and because just a different type of use that they were experiencing with the property. And I said, I'm sure that there hadn't been that many toilet flushes in that home in a long time. So the home warranties are absolutely essential. And I love what Peggy said. We're on the same page there, even if I've got to pay for it myself.
Well, that's because you and Peggy both are VIP agents, and that's what you do. That's how you roll. You take care of your clients, you educate them, you protect them. That's what a great real estate agent does, folks. And you can find them at the Powers Now. They're called VIP agents. Go to thepowersnow.com and look at the bottom on the menu bar. Meet our real estate affiliate, is what they call real estate affiliates, on the menu bar of thepowerisnow.com. Well, this has been a great topic, and now we're going to make another transition to talk about down payment assistance. And we appreciate those of you who have been hanging there with us, and we certainly hope that the information that we have shared with you today, that you will share it with others. Don't be stingy with this information. These are seasoned professionals dropping serious knowledge that can help you or your loved one or a family or a friend, anyone, to become a homeowner and to do it right. That's what it's all about. So we are leading the conversation in real estate. We're doing it right here at Homebuyer Townhall. When we come back, you're going to be hearing from the fabulous Carolyn Sunseri, who just set us up to hear about the great features and benefits of the down payment assistance program with the Golden State Finance Authority. We'll be right back right after this commercial break.
Want to keep up with the current developments happening in the world of real estate? The Real Estate Roundtable, hosted by Eric L. Frazier, is a show you do not want to miss. The show features a panel of VIP agents who are passionate about helping people. It is what they do best. They discuss today's hot topics, latest market updates and trends. The panel also conducts interviews with prominent figures in the industry. New episode every Friday live on Facebook and replay on the Power Is Now YouTube channel.
And we're back. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the Power Is Now Homebuyer Town Hall. I don't know about you folks, but I'm full right now. I have learned so much and listening to these extraordinary panelists about some of the costs associated that you may not be aware of in buying a new home, becoming a homeowner, and some of the expenses associated with moving to the new house and then getting set up in the new house. I mean, thank God this show is recorded. I mean, you can listen to it on Facebook anytime afterwards. And of course, we want you to share it to everybody you know, because it's really important information. And we here at the Power Is Now want you to have all the tools and the resources you need to make homeownership a reality for you and your family. We are so happy to have Carolyn Sansorri with us. She is with us every Homebuyer Town Hall. Golden State is a sponsor of the Power Is Now Homebuyer Town Hall. We appreciate their support and dropping knowledge. They are committed, so committed to homeownership that they are doing things like this. And not just here, but with other organizations as well, trying to get the word out about the money they have available for down payment and closing cost assistance. Welcome again, Carolyn, to the show. Tell us all about Gsfa.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I think I'd like to start out with just dispelling some of the myths that might be out there around programs that offer down payment and closing cost assistance. The first and biggest one being that programs like this are only for first-time home buyers, and that's not true. If you're a first-time home buyer, down payment and closing cost assistance might be great. But if you are someone coming back to the housing market and buying a house that you're going to be moving into as your primary residence, you can still qualify even if you've owned a home somewhere in the past. And in fact, you could be living in a home today that you own, but you're going to be purchasing another house and moving into it as your primary residence and then holding on to that other property as a rental and still apply for down payment and closing cost assistance on the new purchase. The caveat is that you need to be moving into that new property and go with conventional financing in our programs. But there's ways to fit any of the needs that you have. So throw that out if you're thinking in terms of down payment and closing cost assistance is only for first-time home buyers. And it's also not just for people that have low income. We actually don't have any income limits if someone is going with a government loan such as FHA, USDA, or a VA loan. There are no income limits on our programs. And the income limits that we do have on our conventional financing is definitely low, all the way up into moderate income. In some of the counties in Southern California, for example, you're looking at incomes that are about $180,000 that you can still qualify for a down payment assistance program. Contra Costa, the income limit is $240,000. So again, throw that myth out that you have to be a low income borrower in order to get assistance like down payment and closing cost assistance. And then the other one that I like to address immediately is that you don't have to have perfect credit in order to access a down payment assistance program. One of our programs goes as low as a 620 FICO, the other one 640. Now, neither one of those are perfect credit, but you want to get in touch with a loan officer, one of our participating lenders. First Bank is right here. Eric's on the line with us tonight to talk about his role in offering these programs, because when you as a home buyer want to access down payment and closing cost assistance, you have to work with one of our approved lenders. And then that lender locks in your interest rate through us as the public entity making this program possible, as the quasi-governmental entity making it possible. They lock in your interest rates, they get a commitment letter for how much in assistance that you are actually requesting, and then they close the mortgage loan like you normally would. It's not going to slow down your actual escrow. It's not going to cause any additional paperwork. You're going to be going through the same steps that you would with the lender to qualify for a mortgage loan, with a few of those qualifying guidelines set by us: the FICO score, a debt to income ratio, possibly that income limit if you're going with conventional financing, and then determining how much assistance you want. And that's it. That's the only steps. We don't make these programs difficult. So let me tell you about how attractive they are. The most popular program that we have, the one that I'm going to talk about most, is called Gsfa Platinum. And if you haven't heard about it before, please share this video, tell your friends and family about it. It's a wonderful way for someone to qualify for a mortgage when they're purchasing a home and get up to 5% in assistance for down payment, closing costs. They can even use that money towards lowering the principal on the mortgage if they go with like VA or USDA, where there's no down payment required. Okay, so it can be used for down payment, closing costs, or to lower the principal on the mortgage. 5%. So let's say you have a $300,000 loan. 5% is $15,000. That's provided by Golden State Finance Authority to you to cover down and closing costs. It's a lot of money. And 5% can often cover all of what is required for down payment and a good chunk of what is required for closing costs. When you purchase a conventional loan, you can actually get into a conventional mortgage loan with as little as 3% down. That's just the requirements from Freddie Mac. A 97% conventional loan only requires 3% down. You go through Golden State Finance Authority's Platinum program, and we provide you that 3% to cover your down. And we can even provide a little bit more, up to 5%, to help with those closing costs too. So that's how the program is structured. But one of the most advantageous parts of this is that that money that's being provided as assistance, it doesn't have to be repaid after 3 years. It's completely forgiven after 3 years. So you're moving into a property, you've qualified for a mortgage loan, you've used this money for your down payment, stay in that property for 3 years, it is all forgiven, and you are sitting on the equity already that you built from just that down payment. And we're even able to forgive it 1 year at a time. So if you were to have to move out after 2 years, we would forgive 2/3 of what was provided in assistance, and only 1/3 would have to be paid back. At the end of 36 months, it's all forgiven. And then even better, there are certain occupations in California where Golden State Finance Authority is really pushing to help people purchase homes. They are public service and education type employment. So anyone who works for a school, whether that is an administrator, a teacher, or someone who handles the maintenance or the yard work or works in the library, anyone who works for a school, public, private, vocational school, college, it doesn't matter. Anyone who works for a school, anyone who's a firefighter or works for an agency that provides firefighting services, emergency medical technicians and support staff for them, law enforcement, anyone who works for a law enforcement agency, regardless of their position, and then medical and healthcare workers, anyone working in medical and healthcare professions, whether they are a doctor or a nurse, or maybe they work in the records department or in the administration department. Those occupations that I just described, we actually provide the assistance as a gift the day that escrow closes. And so they are never having to wait to have that money forgiven. So let's say you buy that house, maybe the loan on this one was $400,000, and you qualified for 5% in assistance through our Platinum program. That is $20,000 to use for your down and your closing costs. You were a medical or a healthcare professional when you applied for this mortgage. We verified that. And when escrow closes, that $20,000 in assistance to help you get into your home is forgiven and never has to be paid back. So it's a great program to help people get into homes. The purpose here is to help you purchase a home maybe sooner than might be possible if you were having to save up all that money for the down payment and the closing costs. Or it can help you to not use all of your cash resources for your down and your closing costs, so that maybe you can hold on to some of that as reserves for these things that we talked about, moving costs, the maintenance costs that are going to come up, getting yourself started with some furniture. Why not access a down payment and closing cost assistance program, not just when you don't have any money, but maybe to save some of your money as well.
Carolyn, I tell you, every time I hear you present this information, it's like I'm hearing it again for the first time, because it's just so, it's really incredible. In fact, I can't tell you how many times when in talking to buyers, they say it doesn't sound real. It sounds like there's a catch someplace. I mean, you're going to, especially first responders. And I want you to kind of clarify that again for first responders and teachers. I mean, this is free money for them.
It is. And we see about half of the people getting the Platinum program in the last year and a half are the people that are working in healthcare, medical professions, law enforcement, first responders, and educators. So I'm going to go over that again. It's anyone working in healthcare, whether that's medical and healthcare, anyone working in education for an education company. So as long as you're being paid by somebody, by a company that is an education company, private, public, school district, vocational school, etc. As far as first responders, you're looking at firefighters, you're looking at anyone in law enforcement, EMTs, which are emergency medical technicians. It can also apply to people who work in like 911 dispatch or dispatch for law enforcement services. Those are the emergency type positions or first responding positions. And who else am I missing? Did I get them all? Law enforcement, medical, school, firefighting. And you know what? We've even been able to extend it to volunteer firefighters. So keep that in mind too. There's a lot of people out there really, helping us right now during the heat of fire season. And it's just our way of really, helping our public service agents, people who work in public service as much as we can with purchasing homes. And, last year, seeing the stories come in during COVID of people, I saw a lot that were coming in from medical or people who worked in the medical profession and were dealing with COVID patients or working in hospitals and stressed, and were still able to purchase homes last year, and wrote in how amazing it was to be able to access a program that gave them so much cash resources to help them, maybe help them purchase something more expensive than they had planned, or maybe that money, and that down payment help them keep that mortgage payment lower or hold on to some of their money. And again, the qualifying guidelines are pretty flexible. They go down to 640 FICO score for the Platinum program. The debt to income ratio can go as high as 50%. And that's something that your lender can sit down with you and look at your liabilities versus your income, and where are you in terms of your FICO score, your debt to income ratios. And maybe today you aren't there, but as soon as you get in contact with a loan officer, the better, because they can start preparing you so that in 3 or 4 months from now, in 6 months from now, maybe you will have gotten that FICO score a few more points higher, or address some of those bills so that your debt to income ratio fits. And they can sit down and look at what's best for you. Maybe you don't want to take all 5% in assistance. The interest rates are even more attractive if you take less money in assistance. But that's where we want to make it accessible What do you need? Sit down with a loan officer and discuss it. The program is simply here to be a tool, a resource to make purchasing easier.
Carolyn, thank you so much for sharing this information. And I was just looking at your interest rates, and you're absolutely right. On government programs, which are not subject to any income limitations, your rate can be as low as 2.25. So you're not getting down payment assistance, but you're getting a discounted rate. 2.25 on a 30-year fixed rate loan for FHA, USDA, or VA is a crazy low 30-year fixed rate. And so if you have money, right, if you have enough of the down payment, maybe you're getting a gift or something, or you have your 401k you can leverage, and you want to take the long-term view, go for the lower rate. Go for the lower rate, 2.25, 30-year fixed rate. That's a note rate that does not include the APR. If you want the APR and the details, go to qualifytobuynow.com. qualifytobuynow.com. And there you can enter in your cell number, download, and it will send you the link to my mobile app. The mobile app has a link directly to Golden State on the interest rates, and it has a mortgage calculator that will give you your payments, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. You can even throw in your HOA dues and your APR. So rates are really fantastic right now. This is a wonderful time to buy. And to be able to get the down payment assistance that Golden State has to offer, even if you have the money, just puts more money in your pocket. I have a client right now, she's a teacher, and her father is giving her like 20% or even more than that, enough money down to take care of the down payment and all the closing costs. And she is still taking the money because that's really not her money, it's her dad's money that's giving her all the money. And so this helps her in whatever contribution she's going to make back to her dad. That gives her an edge here. So she's buying a pretty big house on top of that. And so the 5% in down payment assistance is just worth it for her to make it a little bit easier on her dad and to keep her reserves as high as possible. The other thing that I don't know if you touched on, Carolyn, but being able to buy a 2-unit or 3-unit or 4-unit property. There are not very many down payment assistance programs that allow that. And can you touch on that for just a brief moment? Then I'm going to bring in my panelists.
Yeah, you can finance a up to 4-unit property. And I believe that is with our government financing. So if you went with an FHA mortgage through our Platinum program, you can finance up to a 4-unit property. Now, most of us, a 4-unit property is more like a small apartment complex, 4 different units in it. You would have to be living in one of them, owner occupying, but then a part of your qualifying for that mortgage loan would be looking at the rent that you can bring in from the other units. So it's another great way of getting yourself approved to buy a piece of real estate. And you can do that with down payment and closing cost assistance as well. But a more common one that I see is a duplex, a 2-unit property. And I think when we did a show just a couple of weeks ago, and I highly encourage people to go back and look at the Homebuyer Townhall we did a few weeks ago. It's up on the Facebook page for The Power Is Now. It's on the Gsfa site as well, where we talked about how to handle all the challenges with today's market, that there's low inventory and prices are really high. And one of the things we talked about was being flexible about what kind of property you're going to buy, because especially if you're a first-time home buyer, this may not be your forever home. But the sooner that you get your foot in the door of real estate, then that gives you that edge to at some point do a move up buy into something that maybe is bigger in a different area or has more amenities that you like. But you have to start somewhere. And even if you used to be a home buyer, have you ever considered going into a 2-unit, a duplex property where you can get rent from one of the units and live in the other? Because when we're looking at low inventory out there, you may need to consider, is it only these standalone single family, or are there some 2-unit properties available? Am I being too limited in how far away I want to drive? And so it was one of the topics we talked about when we talked about being flexible about what you're looking at, because the goal here is to purchase something that you can afford and get started actually building some financial security and enjoyment through home ownership.
You're absolutely right. That is the goal. And you need to get in by any means necessary, whether it be a single family home, a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex. Get in by any means necessary, because rates can't stay this low for too much longer. We have been in the longest run. I can't even, I mean, I don't think there's been a time in history. And correct me if I'm wrong, you know, Peggy and Ameer, you're both my peers. You've been around as long as I have. Has there ever been a time in history where interest rates have been this low for so long?
Not that I can remember. You know, we were talking, Eric, you and I had a conversation in December of 2018 where we thought that rates were going to be at the 6% range or above coming for 2019. I know you remember that. But we were talking about the fact that, you know, 20 years ago, when I really got into the mortgage business, we thought that 7% was really high. And so it just hasn't been this low, and people are saying, oh my gosh, we might go to 4% or go to 5%. I'm going, you know, 4% is still lower than it had been. We bragged that 4% was a 30-year low. You know, so I know that everybody's terrified that we won't be able to get the 2.25 that you mentioned earlier, but a 4% 30-year fixed, even 20 years ago, was just an amazing, probably unfathomable interest rate. So I haven't seen it this low for this long ever. And I will say this, you know, having been in it for 20 plus years, when I got in the business, I've never seen this rate even as it is.
No, I haven't either. Peggy, I know you've been around a long time. In fact, I don't know, what interest rate did you buy your first home at, Peggy?
My first interest rate, my first home in Albuquerque, New Mexico, we actually closed in the early 80s at 17.75%.
17.75%.
Wow.
You thought that was a deal, didn't you?
Of course.
Wow.
Carolyn, thank you so much for sharing this information. First Bank, folks, is an approved lender with the Golden State Finance Authority. I'd be happy to sit down with you and go over your individual circumstances. As you can see from her presentation, there is a lot to offer. First Bank has a flexibility in credit, debt ratio, flexibility in income, flexibility in units. If you can get into a 2 or 3 unit building, just understand the rent from the other unit is probably going to cover more than half of the mortgage. And so what a way to get in, which also increases your purchasing power. And so Golden State has the answer to many of the challenges you might be facing. And the number one challenge that most people are facing today is not necessarily their credit scores or even their debt to income ratio. The number one challenge, and it has been the number one challenge for many, many years, is down payment. And in fact, there are many people who still think you need 20% or more for the down payment to purchase a new home. And Carolyn has tried and continues to try to bust those myths out there about down payment assistance, but they're still unfortunately alive and well. So we want to invite you to share this show with your friends and family members so they'll know that it's simply not the case. You can get in with very little money down. And if the seller is willing to contribute, you might be able to get in with literally no money down at all. And from the news that we share with you today, it's a very good possibility that inventory might start to continue to increase. And the more inventory we have on the market, then we'll see some normalizing of prices, maybe reduction in prices. You never know. You never know. I wouldn't be counting on that. I would be counting maybe on some normalization, some flattening of prices, and maybe less situations where you might find yourself in a multiple offer situation. That would be, I would take that where, you know, the buyer makes an offer gets accepted, they move in 30 days, as opposed to competing with 30 other buyers. So only time will tell. All you can do is deal with the present, and the present means that you need to get approved right now before things change. Well, again, Carolyn, thank you so much. Peggy, Ameer, if you guys have any questions for Carolyn, we are way past time on today's show. And so I'm going to forego the presentation in regard to the California Housing Finance Agency, but I do want to share one thing, and that is if you are buying in a high cost area where you need to finance $800,000, $822,375, there is down payment assistance available through the California Housing Finance Agency. They have two programs, one for down payment, one for closing costs, and it is incredible. All right, you can get in where you fit in high cost areas with down payment assistance. So before we wrap this show up, I'm going to turn it over to my panelists again for any final comments or questions for our esteemed colleague, Carolyn Sansorri and the Golden State Finance Authority.
Thank you, Carolyn. It's always great to hear from you. Look forward to being able to access some of these funds. Literally just closed one maybe a week ago. So really excited about that.
That's wonderful to hear, Ameer. I was just given the new statistics from my operations department today that today we broke 84,000 home buyers that we've assisted in the last 28 years. We've provided over $640 million in down payment assistance out there in California.
Congratulations, Carolyn. What a tremendous milestone that is for the organization. And I appreciate their commitment to homeownership to Californians. Peggy, any final comments or questions for Carolyn?
You know, every time I come on and I hear her excitement, your excitement about the programs that are available for first-time home buyers in California at such a high dollar amount, I just look forward to one of those days in Arizona. We'll have those similar types of programs in Arizona. We do have down payment assistance programs here in Arizona, but they don't quite go that high. Eric and Carol, thank you so much. But I enjoy every time she's on. You know, as they say, if you speak it and believe it, it shall come to pass. So I'm speaking that one of these days, we will have those same down payment assistance programs here in Arizona. So thank you, Carol.
Awesome, Peggy. Let it be so. Let it be so.
Peggy was talking about it before this show started, and she herself refers clients to the down payment assistance program in Arizona. And I highly encourage people, if you're purchasing in Arizona, reach out to Peggy, because she does have connections to the housing state agency there that does provide some programs. They may have some limitations to how expensive the properties can be. There may be some different guidelines, but there's some solutions available for you to at least look into. So your VIP agents really are more than just real estate agents. They are your advocates. So I highly encourage, if you're purchasing in Arizona, reach out to Peggy.
Wow, Carolyn, I'm going to have to borrow that. The VIP agents are more than real estate agents. They are advocates of homeownership. And I appreciate them very much for being participants on the Powers Now media platform. And Peggy, you know, let's reach out to the agency that you have been referring people to, and let's invite them to come on the show. Between you and Yvonne and your support and commitment to participating in all these educational shows, I think we owe it to you guys to bring some exposure to the association or the organization that's providing down payment assistance. And I will be working with First Bank to see if what we can do to become an approved lender with an Arizona down payment assistance program. So I know that the National Homebuyers Fund is in Arizona, and they are the parent company of the Golden State Finance Authority. So there's got to be a back door, Carolyn, somehow for First Bank and other lenders that might be interested to getting in to Arizona.
Yeah, NHF is a sister entity to Golden State Finance Authority. They do business outside of California. So that's another option, and you're more than welcome to visit their website and find out what counties and, what states that they provide down payment assistance in as well.
Well, folks, that's a wrap of the show today. And Carolyn, Ameer, and I'm going to call you Yvonne, but Peggy, and Yvonne, she's not with us today, and Jenny, she's not with us today. We can normally count on those two to be on our platform on the show. We appreciate your commitment to education and being a part of the Homebuyer Townhall. For those of you who are watching for the first time, please continue to connect with us. Find us on Instagram, Pinterest. Of course, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. And get this free information. Go to our website, thepowerisnow.com. Read our magazines, watch our podcasts on anywhere you get your podcasts. We're on iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, you name it. You can find us on podcasts as well, providing great information to help the American dream become a reality for everyone. Finally, again, I am a Vice President Mortgage Advisor with First Bank. My license number is 461807. I can do just about any loan. If you need an interest-only loan, we have it available up to $2 million for you move-up buyers. If you're looking for VA, FHA, USDA, a conventional loan, investment loans, 25% down, buying anywhere in all 49 states, I can assist you. If you're looking for a business loan, a personal loan, are looking to even establish credit, we have credit programs, credit builder programs in our branches. We are a full service bank, and we can do just about anything, not everything, but just about anything. We offer construction loans as well in California. So if you would like to learn more, just reach out to me. Go to Qualify to Buy Now and download my mobile app, qualifytobuynow.com. And there's a lot of great information on the mobile app that will connect you directly to the information you're looking for, as well as my online calendar to schedule an appointment to talk with me. I work by appointment only, and so that's the best way to start. Again, you can call me at 714-475-8629, and a member of my team will schedule a time to talk with me so that I can give you what you need to make your dream of homeownership an absolute reality. You can do it. Don't procrastinate. Remember, we are at our best and we maximize our success when we act now. The power is now. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.
The Power is Now Media is worldwide with growing audience of future home buyers, investors, builders, developers, real estate agents, and brokers. The Power is Now Media is well positioned to increase awareness and produce results for our growing roster of advertising partners. An advertisement on any of our platforms is the right step toward reaching and communicating key brand messages to a targeted network of individuals, families, and communities interested in housing. Our content areas include feature stories and profiles on successful real estate agents, business owners, government, and community leaders. The Power is Now magazines are the leading resource for real estate agents, mortgage bankers, entrepreneurs, and small home ownership businesses, providing leaders with business strategy information, resources, and tools through PIN, real estate, and programming guide magazines. Stay up to the minute with real estate and mortgage news and information from industry experts. VIP agents are able to feature listings each week. The Power is Now TV radio podcast features weekly shows that include Homebuyers Townhall, Real Estate Roundtable, VIP Agent Spotlight, and so much more. Each week, VIP agents have opportunities to be featured guests on the shows. VIP agents can discuss and showcase houses, neighborhoods, and provide brief introduction. The interviews are unlimited 10 to 15 minutes on each current listing. This product alone separates you from your competition. The Power is Now delivers to you market update interview to promote listing weekly, promotional biographical video, co-host a bi-monthly Homebuyers Town Hall show, featured subject matter expert on Real Estate Roundtable show. The Power is Now Program Guide e-magazine. The Power is Now National e-magazine. Article writing and blogging. Social media content customization. Inclusion and press releases. Graphic design services. Business and performance coaching. Technology support. Referrals. Lead generation opportunities and management support.